know if you've been seeing a lot of this, but I definitely have seen it on the mental health side with Wegovy and all of these other things that people wasn't even in their mind. And now all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, I'm like, wow, you lost a lot of weight, because it's obviously 30 pounds within a couple of weeks. There's a lot of weight loss, and they've been getting on this medication, and it's almost like it happened. I guess they went into the doctor. The doctor said, hey, this would be great for you. Yes, I understand severely diabetic, and at a certain point it's very medical necessity to do that, but I could find like at least 15 people that all of a sudden were like, oh yeah, I'm on it, that wasn't even, they even knew it was a thing. And I felt like that's really dangerous, that physically you haven't prepared for it, emotionally, mentally. What has that been like for you in your line of practice?
Yeah, it is the traditional double-edged sword. So somebody can hop on a telehealth, upload their information, they meet a certain BMI, and that medication will be on their front door, the next time the Amazon man rolls through the neighborhood. So we're seeing people make that decision a little bit too rapid. And I do think it is an amazing tool. I think telemedicine's an amazing tool, but it is that double-edged sword where people aren't necessarily realizing the commitment they're making to a lifestyle change. Again, all of those GLP-1s, they are just another tool to add to your toolbox to be healthy, to be well. There's also a situation where I don't think that people necessarily realize that they are committing to be on that medication long term. So we're seeing, a $500, $600, $700 a month various programs. And if they want to continue making the trajectory, they're going to need more and more milliliters to inject each and every month as they go on. And they're going to need that medication long term, if not forever. And I'm afraid that more and more people are going to be just so painfully depressed when they either can't afford the medication anymore, just decide they don't want the medication anymore, and they are unsuccessful in that they put all of that weight back on. And there's some newer studies out there that are saying that some of the GLP-1s, you'll actually put on more weight than from when you started. So like I said, as we started, just the traditional double-edged sword.
Yes. And what's really frightening is I work with insurance companies all the time for my private practice. And I would think once a client reaches a certain weight, they might not cover $600. But I've had one person say it's like $1,000. They won't cover. So if you're, trucking along and you're at this weight that you never thought you could be, you were at 200 pounds and now you're down to 140. And, you really, and a lot of the people that I've worked with and spoken to are not eating because they don't want to. They're not eating because, not to be gross, they can't keep it in, or they feel very sick about eating. Yeah. So then all of a sudden they're saying, guess what? We can't cover your medication anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know, but who has $700 a month to pay for medication? And then I would think gaining all that weight back physically would be so traumatic and not healthy, but also mentally from going from there to that is almost, I'm wondering, just thought of it, going to be a new type of eating disorder as the years go by, as we found about long COVID and all these other things that are coming post-COVID. What's going to come post all these different types of medications and injectables?
Yeah, and we're at that stage right now where it really is a question mark, because so many people have accessed the medication so rapidly. Of course, you have to do your research. You have to find a situation, because they can compound it at compounded pharmacies. You have to find a situation where you make sure you're getting the right medication, even if it's not a name brand medication. Make sure that you're did it. It's a lot easier now today. You can do the research. If you see which pharmacy your medication's coming from, a couple of keystrokes, you can find out if they're legit. But there is just so much coming out so quickly that we are going to be in, I think, for a shock. And of course, there is just also the situation where there's another shortage and the price of it spikes and the insurance companies don't want to cover it at all. And maybe if you're already private paying, that amount doubles overnight, or for your next month of your injectable, it's going from 500 to 1,000. Then do you see people that are so committed to that injectable that they're looking for ways to cut other things in their budget as far as healthy food or that's exactly it.
And then becomes kind of a food addiction, a medication addiction. And I've also had those different companies, I won't mention names, but they're giving out mental health medications and weight loss medications to help clients lose weight. And they're doing it within a week after speaking to them, because I've had a few that have come to me,
right.
and they didn't do, not that I know of, a full-blown evaluation, because the people were going along pretty baseline, and whatever medications they gave them, they have it helps you lose weight, and it's for this, it's for that. But they didn't really understand the depth of what the client was going through, and it's been disastrous.
Yeah. And on the provider side, they're slotted for 15-minute appointments. Yeah. They're slotted for 15-minute consultations all day. And that's just, 15-minute consultations. They're going through as many as possible. I think that there is a situation where it's going out too rapidly. And, it's just like a lot of different things where if it sounds too good to be true, it just might be, and again, I don't dissuade anybody from using GLP-1s if it's going to help them, if they're going to need it, but you got to do your research, not only from where the pharmaceuticals are coming from, but from the telehealth platform and from the providers, because the providers, they're meeting with you. Just remember, from your side, this is a big, important appointment. From their side, they're doing 20 of these a day. So there's things in there even the best provider is going to miss.
Yes. It's really asking your questions if you're interested, and going to different providers that you trust, that you know, and getting different opinions, because just like anything, you need to really do your research and not just jump into something, because it's not right for everybody, and you also have to be ready for it.
And your primary care provider, chances are, is the best first stop. But I don't know how things are your neck of the woods, but in my neck of the woods, we're having a huge primary care provider shortage. So there's a lot of folks out there that don't even have a primary care, or they're trying to get on a primary care list. Here, it's about a year wait to get a new appointment with their primary care. So if someone is in that situation where they're feeling unwell, where they're obese, they're not going to be looking to wait a year to get that first appointment, to then get another appointment to talk about their weight loss. So again, that's where the telehealth does come in. Fantastic tool. But if you do have a primary care provider, start with them first. Tell them you're thinking about weight loss, you're thinking about these GLP-1s, and any good provider is going to point you in the right direction.
Yes. And I agree. And I know a lot of times it's saying that, as a therapist, so many times I get calls from prospective clients saying, no one's answering me, everyone is booked. And we are all booked. Yeah. But I feel, at least as my ethical duty, I have to, answer the phone, and I try as much as I can to fit people in. But from what I'm hearing about, even for just basic appointments, there's a year wait to get a mammogram, or when someone has a really bad cough or something like that, it's 4 weeks down the road. So then they go to their local urgent care, which is great, but they're also overrun. They're also got people coming in and out. And, you just have to make sure that you're not going to kind of like a drive-through McDonald's. Not that McDonald's is bad. They're fine. But you don't want a McDonald's through healthcare system when you're making huge, huge decisions about your mental health and also your medical health.
I just had a client go through. They're looking for a new primary. They made a couple calls. They made a call. They said, oh, yeah, we can get you in May. And they said, oh, fantastic. That's not that far away. To clarify, they were talking about May 2026. So it's getting bad up here. They are working on some different options, some different legislation to kind of help push along those primary care providers and get them seeing patients. But it is literally going to be years before there's enough primary care providers and enough mental health providers. So in the meantime, it's a triage situation.
We could do another 3 shows on this.
I know.
Then you start getting into insurance and payments and reimbursements. It goes in 5 different directions. But before the end of the show, I want to talk about your radio shows, your podcast. Tell us a little bit about that, because you're just all over the place and it's so incredible.
Yeah, that audio was my first love. So I was lucky enough to go to a high school that had an FM station. So after I think 10th grade and on, you could sign up just as a regular extracurricular, get on the radio. And then from that, I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which isn't even on my resume because it was so long ago that I was actually learning how to splice tapes as part of my broadcasting degree. So things have changed. And I was on the early edge of podcasting, and I saw this thing coming down the pipeline. I said, wow, this is cool. You know, people from all over the world are going to be able to listen what I'm doing here. The other people at the traditional broadcast station didn't understand why I was doing extra work to record my show and put it up in a podcast. And I'm still doing this, and they're all retired. But, you know, it was cool to see that come so quickly. I uploaded my first few podcasts on dial-up internet, which took so long. And then if someone picked up a phone in another room, you had to start from scratch. So not only did it take forever to upload, but there was barely anybody that could listen to it. So I've kind of always just tried to jump in the background and just do as many on-air things as I can do, just to kind of stay sharp, to see what's coming down the pipeline. And it is one of those use it or lose it skills. So if you stop doing on air, I think you start to get a little rusty. So I just try to jump on as much as I can, and I keep it really laid back. You know, it's nothing. I'm not doing a Howard Stern shtick or a Don Imus shtick. It's just fun, bringing you through your day, some light music. And I think it has a situation where there's a lot of folks who enjoy it. So as long as it's still fun, I'll keep doing it.
Absolutely. And I think it's amazing being able to just to be on the air and speak about things. You know, it's so enjoyable for you as the host, but then also for all the listeners and everyone around. It's very nostalgic from when you were younger, and then as you grow up, it's nice to always have those stations, but also to be able to hear things and listen to what's going on in the news and different things.
And if you research music and neuroscience, just kind of, to loop it back to what we're talking about, there is some great research on there about how music will literally affect your brainwaves.
Absolutely. What would you say to any of our listeners, our viewers, that are having a hard time deciding what they want to do in life, what direction to go, and having also the confidence to take that first step?
I think it's a little bit more like we talked about earlier. Don't worry about what the neighbors think. Don't worry about what mom and dad thinks, because if you're really pulled in a direction that you're feeling led to, eventually that's all going to catch up. So when I first started studying media psychology, people thought I was absolutely insane for studying media psychology. I'm wasting my money. And then it turned out that social media platforms are using media psychology to market to you. They're using things like Flickr rate to get you to spend money. And all of a sudden that caught up, where people were looking to me as a media psychology expert, because nobody else had really studied it at that point. So if you are feeling drawn, start, and then don't think about what everybody else thinks. And also, if you can find that community of like-minded folks, jump in there, start interacting with them, and you will know which direction to go in later on down the line. But it might take time for the world to catch up with what you're doing.
Yes, and that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter if the world isn't caught up with you right now. It will, because so many, years ago I started off, in entertainment, and also going to school to be a social worker, a psychotherapist. And I wasn't really aware until recently of what you're saying about media psychology. And I've always said it's incredible. People say, they can't be the same thing. You can't be this in the entertainment and also be a therapist. They don't mix. And I'm like, yes, actually they do. Right? There really is such a crossing, and both need each other. It's an expression, but it's also understanding who you are and who your audience is, which is so powerful and also so inspirational. And you're able to have people hear you, but also be able to reach them and let them know that they're not alone.
And it's so much more accessible now. When I would drive to Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and then I'd be half asleep, and I'd drive home, I'd be falling asleep behind the wheel to go to my day job. Now you can just hop on with one of these and with one of these, and you can get a fantastic education. So if you make that start, chances are you're going to have the opportunities. And like I said, it's going to catch up with you.
Great. Well, Tony, we're at the end of the show. I wanted to say thank you so much. Already, I know it. I keep going. Is it almost done? Oh my God, I can't believe it. It has been so incredible. I definitely would like to have you back on. I have so many different topics I think we can explore. Again, where can my viewers, my listeners, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Tony Jones On Air is the best website right now, and I'm working on Tony Jones Wellness, but there's not much up there right now, still kind of in the process of making that. And then I'm also putting together an app, which is going to be for mindfulness and meditation. One of those things that there's a lot of good apps out there. A lot of them are cost prohibitive. I think we're going to look at a free version for mine. So Tony Jones on air, and then coming soon, Tony Jones Wellness. And I know there's 100 Tony Joneses out there, but I kind of stick out like a sore thumb. So you can, chances are you can find me.
I love it. I love everything